Hey, what's up, everybody? Mogan Monster here, and welcome to Why the Fascination, or WTF as I like to call it. Hope everybody's having a wonderful night. A lot of people in chat already. That's awesome to see. Run down and give some shout outs. I do have a couple guests tonight. Linda Bennett, what's up? Sandra Piper. Joe, what's going on, man? Mr. Lee 3PO, it's about time you showed up. Sean Patterson, what's happening? Rex. Who else? Paulie T. Mopar Bill, good to see you again. Sasquatch, what's happening? Kia ora. Mike Stockton. I'm so glad everybody's here tonight. Dogs are barking at something. Sorry. So yeah, the other night, Long Island Bigfoot couldn't make it. Mike had fatherly duties to take care of. Right on, brother. Everybody understands that, but people busted my balls. It's all good though. I see Mike in chat, so he should be coming on. But also joining us tonight, I have Gary HootenHolla. He's coming from upstate New York. He's with the New York State Bigfoot Society, or New York Bigfoot Society. And he's done a lot of stuff in the past, from paranormal stuff to Bigfoot and stuff, hate the word squatching, but research. So he's going to be joining me here in a minute. I'm looking forward to talking to him. It's going to be a back east kind of show. Forget about it. A New York show. Well, anyway, enough of my babble. Gary, what's up, man? Welcome to Why the Fascination.
Yeah, what's going on, my man? Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Yeah, I was just saying I'd seen some of your stuff. I'd seen you on a few channels, and then being so fascinated with the subject, I watch everything. So
yeah.
I had seen some like Discovery Channel or History Channel. I don't remember, but you were on the shows. You guys were doing your thing. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. TV in general. And what's up, Footer Nation, as I like to say. Gary HootenHolla here. Yeah, I mean, when you do TV and production with any kind of paranormal show or Bigfoot, it's different. And I don't always like to sell that whole thing, you know what I mean? Because that's not really what I'm about. But, just like you get the opportunity to do something. And I was able to do a couple TV shows. I was on Coast to Coast with George Norrie, which was actually awesome. I mean, I enjoyed that, I think, the most out of anything, honestly. But, when you do these shows. But now the one show, the America's Book of Secrets show that I did do on the History Channel, you do see me and the cameraman. We got bored at camp. And it was, once again, everybody's bullshitting. And I'm like, listen, I'm here to, I don't want to waste time. I'm not working. And we don't get paid to do this. So I'm not making money being on that show, just so you know. So long story short, I take the guy. I'm like, let's go way down in the woods. So we took him, went down in the woods, and you do hear a tree knock in that episode, which is 100% legit, depending on what you think about tree knocking. Instead, there was something right in front of us. You hear the pop, and we actually caught it, and you caught it on the show. So I guess that was the one cool thing about TV that was actually legit. Other than that, a lot of it's produced. I had a little like helper that like followed me around the whole time. I mean, it was a good time though. It was a good time.
Right on. I see Mike is backstage now, so he looks ready. If he's not, oh well. What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
All right, right on, man.
I'm not gonna wear it for long, but I told you last time I looked for it for a long time, and I finally found it.
I'm in like a bandana sandwich right now. It's like a cookie. It's like an Oreo cookie here.
I'll tell you, it takes dedication because that's not very comfortable.
What, wearing a bandana?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
I just fold it up. It only goes that wide all the way around. You know,
I'll be honest. Like I folded it different ways. It wasn't working out. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a rook.
You'll learn.
What's up, Gary?
What's going on, my man? Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
I mean, I love this show. I love how he does it. Like just kind of like whoever's up for it wants to pop on. Like it's so, it's so different and fresh and like, you know what I mean? Like it's not easy for somebody to do that. Like day to day, week to week. Like just like, sometimes you have guests set up, but like other times you just like, from the beginning, you just have people just, if anybody wants to come in, like you have no idea how it's going to go. Like you're just always on your toes.
No clue.
Yeah. It's cool to me. Like,
yeah, that's cool. Gotta think fast.
Well, if I put the link in chat, that's scary.
Yeah, that's the one. You
don't know. It's like Russian roulette, but no, I trust everybody here. You know what? I do have amazing people in my chat, great moderators, and everything runs so smooth. It's friggin' awesome.
That's all that matters.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah, definitely a good group of people.
So yeah, Mike, I've been watching some of your latest videos. I'm kind of jealous that you're out there romping in the snow. I don't have any here.
Yeah, I don't. It's cool because last year we had 0 inches, so it's definitely a lot different from last year, and I don't know. I'm having a good time, that's for sure. But it just keeps coming. Like it just keeps coming. I haven't had like a lot of the times I haven't had a vehicle, so I had to walk. Like I had to walk a lot of the days, and it's been kicking my ass. So the last video I did, literally, like, Sarah was like, well, "Why don't you go? You got to go to the supermarket." That you pointed out a place that was over there. Like, why don't you go then? So like, with all the kids and all, our time frame, like, so I have to squeeze it in when I can. So a lot of the times lately, it's been just, it's been on the fly, or it's been just new locations just because of where I am at the time. So. But yeah, the snow has made it definitely interesting. So
I was going to ask, do you prefer to do it in the snow? Personally, like I took a ride recently up on top of the mountain across the street, and that's it. The height of that is like 7,000 feet, and all the way up, I started, it changes. Like you go from rain or but all of a sudden we were in snow, and I was pulling over in every patch that was like any big patch just to see, like, check for footprints.
Yeah, well, I
walk through.
I have a big problem here because of so many people. So I don't look down a lot. Like a lot of people look down, they get to look for prints and shit, like, because they're in these remote areas. So a lot of times I'm in areas where it's like, I'm like, forget it. Like, even if I see something, I'm not gonna know. But with the snow, it's like it's fair game because I could easily tell, has someone been here, have they not?
Exactly.
So it's on that level. It's been a lot of fun for me because I never get to look for prints. Like, so it's been a lot of fun. I look for impressions of what might have been a print or could be, but that's as far as I get to go.
No, that's a great opportunity. Definitely.
Yeah, this makes life so much more easier. And it's easier in some ways, but then it's a lot harder in other ways.
Sure.
When you're out in the snow and you're scrubbing around and misidentifications of tracks in the snow. I see so many. From double bear steps to snowshoes. I mean, people send me pictures of snowshoes and it's like, yo, Gary, this is a Bigfoot track. I'm like, listen, I snowshoe all the time. Upstate New York, that's all we do.
And it happened to me like 3 days ago. I was like, holy shit. And then I'm like, what is this? And it was like so big. And I'm like, what is it? And then like, I'm like, it took me a second to get it. I'm like, a fucking snowshoe? I'm like, what the hell? Like, my mind didn't go there.
No.
But even the stuff like coming down, like falling off the trees, the snow is like making, like just hitting the snow and like going, making it, and like, it's screwy, like it's screwy.
Well,
like
even a rabbit, even a rabbit, if when rabbits jump and, once again, and they make those impressions in the snow, I mean, once they land, it will look like a big footprint. And, once again, people, when you get the snow, everybody's like, oh, it's so much easier to track. Yes, it is. I mean, you could track everything in the snow. But the problem is the misidentification in the snow, in my opinion, it's so much more, it's there. Because at least when we look at a mud track or you're looking at tracks in the woods, we get the nice toe prints. We get those kind of things, which then we can be like, all right, what makes these kind of toe prints? But in the snow, once again, unless you get those nice, flat, good tracks, I mean, it could be anything. And the bears don't hibernate. That's the thing. People think bears hibernate. They don't hibernate. Not up here, they don't.
Not over here, no. Not
at all. And the Catskills and down near you, it's full of bears.
There's no reason for them. Not well where I am. There's not, but like what I mean. Like
right up a little
down
bit
here,
north.
like southern upstate, whatever. I don't know what even they call it up there, but I don't know the areas.
Call it mid-southern.
It gets it's confusing for me, but like where the rabbit, like you could see where they walk, but when they lay down on top of it, like it's like when they lay down, it's like it's kind of like it's not deep, but it's like it's pretty big, and then like their front things there, it's like I don't know. Like I said, for me,
it's deceiving.
It's just me learning a whole bunch of new shit. But like even still, like I said, it's just exciting because even still, I don't have nothing to cast it with. Even if I do, like even if it is a Bigfoot print, it's got to be super fresh, and you're really just gonna get a picture out of it because like there's so much you got to do to it already. So when there's snow on it, like I've heard the process, and like you got to do so much shit to it, like spray it with Dan. Like I'll be honest, I'm too lazy for that shit. Like I'm not lying. I'm too lazy for that shit. Like I forget my gifts all the time. I'm like, back. Like, forget it. The walk back to the car for the mask 10 times a day is annoying enough. Forget it.
That's true. 100% true there.
Oh, man. I'm constantly forgetting the damn things. I do want to do some more shout outs. Lockbeard, what's up? Christy Sci-Fi, it's so good to see you up and about. I'm glad you're here. JJ's Cryptid, what's up? D, hey. TFV, what's going on? Who else? I know I saw a few new names in here. Scotty B, what's happening? Cat, hi.
Scotty.
Oh, I'm so glad to see everybody in here tonight. That's awesome. Oh, wow, we have 73 watching. Right on.
Too much pressure for me.
No.
There's no pressure in Bigfoot. Who are you talking to?
So tell me about your paranormal connect. What's your deal with the paranormal and investigations and stuff?
Yeah, well, my name is Gary Robusto. They call me HootenHolla. I'm the founder and creator of the Tri-City New York Paranormal Society and the New York Bigfoot Society, which is our sister organization, both based in Albany, New York, upstate New York. I've been a paranormal researcher for 26 years, into ghost, demonic things, UFOs, all that stuff. And then I switched to cryptids about 12 years ago. And so now I'm pretty much known in the field for, Bigfoot, things like that. That's my main focus, is Bigfoot in New York. I pretty much stick to New York. I don't go outside because why? I mean, they're here. We want to understand the New York Bigfoot.
Sure.
So a lot of my background's in science. All right. So animal science. I'm a licensed veterinary technician by trade. I work with animals. I'm a wildlife rehabilitator by trade. So I do all those kind of things. I study animal behavior as part of my job. Also, I'm a mountaineer. So I do mountaineering, bushcrafting, things like that. So, I do ice climbing and all that fun stuff. So I'm an extreme sports type person. So I'm always out there doing something crazy.
More hobbies in a little bit.
I am. Oh my God. That's the thing. I got hobby after hobby, but yeah. So, we kind of take a logical approach to the Bigfoot phenomena. All right. As I like to say, I'm a flesh and blood guy. I believe Bigfoot's a flesh and blood creature. But with that being said, I'm very open-minded to all the sides of the Bigfoot. As you can see, me and Mike are really good friends. He's part of my Bigfoot team. He's part of the NYBS. And we look into the paranormal aspects of the Bigfoot. Just because I'm on the flesh and blood side, and I've had 2 encounters myself of a Bigfoot creature, and it looked flesh and blood to me, doesn't mean that it possibly couldn't be something else. So we look at all aspects from the extraterrestrial and UFO side to the interdimensional and paranormal side to the Native American spirit, flesh and blood spiritual side. I started a new project coming into 2021 called Project X. NYBS Project X is taking a group of people, a group of researchers throughout the whole state. So I have 11 researchers throughout the whole state of New York covering, so we cover the whole state, and we're all coming from different backgrounds. I have a professional tracker that he does that for his living. I got a footprint expert who Bigfoot footprints are his deal. We got Mike, who's the paranormal guy. Like, that's his wheelhouse. You can talk paranormal Bigfoot all day, and I'm still mind numb by it.
Mm-hmm.
I come from the aspect of animal behavior and communication skills. So I've created a way to be able to communicate with Bigfoots, and it's actually 2020 was the year of communication for me, and I have figured out a system where they are responding back. I have Diane out of Dutchess County. She's the gifting queen. She does gifting. And
wow.
the responses she gets back by gifting are some of the most, they're amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Then I have Edward Munge, who's a producer and also a UFO. He's into the whole UFO thing with Bigfoot, thinking that it could be an alien thing. And he works closely with Ron Moorhead and those type of people too. So we bring all these people together. And then my boy KDW Irish, my boy Kenny,
right on.
Kenny, he's my boy. You know what I mean? So he's my co-host, and he's one of my investigators on the team. He's our paranormal. He's our Bigfoot historian. So what he does is, he researches all the stuff, all the stories and all those kind of things, and then he brings that to the table. And then together with all of us, we then put together the, project where we look into the phenomena of, could Bigfoot be more than just a flesh and blood creature? Could it be a paranormal entity? Could it be a spiritual entity? And then I dissect that. And what we do is we use a scientific method. Because I'm a very science-based person, we set up the experiments all in the scientific method. Once again, I'm actually teaching these guys, how to do it. Mike's learning straight along with us. And but we do it very scientifically, all facts and data. And then that data gets brought back to me for all the researchers. We pool it, and then we release it to the public. And then you do whatever you want with it, because I personally don't care what you do with it. But
sure.
It's us sharing that data with everybody, showing that there could be some connection in some way, shape, or form, or we're debunking them left and right. And I'm okay with that too, because there's no such thing as bad data.
No.
All data is good. So that's kind of what we do. And that's kind of the project we're kind of working on this year.
Right on. Yeah, that sounds ambitious, to say the least.
Well, it's awesome.
But it's important. It's really
super
important.
It is. I mean, it is. And what's the best part about it?
And I'm glad to hear this, because I mentioned this the other day. There's certain groups out there that we don't need.
100%.
For sure.
Just saying. And so what you're doing is important. And
Yeah,
there
we're
are other,
trying.
but there are other groups that are starting to do this, also. And it's the fact that you're sharing it the way you are is what's really the key thing. Too many groups control some stuff, and they don't, they narrate what goes on. Fuck you.
Yeah, the big.
Sorry.
Listen, no, you're fine, dude. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm blunt and I'm right to the point. The point is that I mean, I've been doing this a long time, like a long time. I've donated so much money, so much time, my family time. I mean, we donate all this stuff just to be in the woods or in a house doing ghost hunting or whatever we're doing. The fact of the matter is, though, is that at the end of the day, we still have absolutely nothing. Yes, we got tracks. So we can say we have tracks. But really, all investigators, as close as we want to believe that we're getting, listen, I'm in active areas. Like I've had squatch sightings. I find tracks. I know I'm in active area. Okay. But that still doesn't mean squat because we have no understanding. So, what we've been doing, like our first test, and we just released it the other day. Our first test was trying to manifest orbs in the woods. Now, we hear a lot of these stories about people seeing orbs in the woods, light anomalies. We hear it all the time. So what we did was, I'm like, all right, so let's do this. We did Native American call blasting. So I took Native American drum music. I took Native American flute music, set up a whole experiment based on that. And then I gave it to these guys and ladies. And I'm like, now this is what I want you to do. You go and do it. Now, the whole point of this experiment was to change the frequency in the environment to get an activity to happen. It's that simple, really, when you think about it, because everything in life works off a frequency. Everything does. So if these light anomalies give off a different frequency in the environment, then we should be able to change it. So we did it. We did the test, and nothing happened. But when I say nothing happened,
Right.
the experiment was set up for orbs. So we did not get any orbs. But the observations that we end up getting, we got a lot of different observations. So stuff was happening. We did get things to happen, but which we can't talk about quite yet because now I have to reset the experiment back up to now test these things that happened. But this is the type of stuff that we're doing. So we're trying to find portals in the woods. People talk about portals, right? So we're trying to find them. So we're using different devices and things like that to find these areas. And maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to put some sort of, I don't want to say facts, but some sort of, coincidences together that then say, well, maybe this is why we see a squatch or a UFO or a ghost or orb in this area in the woods because of A, B, C that we found out. And that's what we're trying to do.
Right on.
At the worst case, we know what not to do, or what, or what. Or
I hate to cut you. I hate to cut you guys off. Just 1 second. We've just been raided. My chat has been raided. I want to thank everybody for doing what you're doing and showing up. That's awesome. There's 253 people in chat right now.
Wow. You can't be serious.
I swear to God.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Right, roll call. Do it up.
Thank you. To quote Mike. Yeah, everybody that's here. I think the prepper world just showed up. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
That's great.
While you're here, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you. Carry on, gentlemen. I just had to address that. That's cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
That's huge, man. That's a big. I mean, that's definitely the top number, right? For sure.
Yeah, hell yeah. I had
great.
I think my top was 130.
I think I hit like 45 like last Sunday, and I started sweating. Like, like I was like, oh shit, like the pressure. Like,
no, that's awesome that everybody. Skinwalker, this is funny. Here we go.
That's cool, man.
Oh man, I go to click on something and it's rolling so quick that I can't keep up. That's funny.
I gotta see this. Oh shit! What I do?
226. Well, people pop in and they leave,
Yeah,
and
that's cool, man.
but that's amazing. That's
Good.
Skinwalker says no pressure, no pressure, Mogian. No, there could be 2,000. There's no pressure. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's welcome, and you know, you'll see the numbers drop off as everybody leaves. But that was very cool of you guys to do that. Thank you so much. Oop.
And it's nice because it's positive stuff. You know, it's positivity. It's not,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what it's all about.
And that's the way we are here. You know, Mike knows. You know, we support each other. You know, we have you know, new show coming up. You know, you're just starting out. Come on. You know, I promote anybody basically, and it's important. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I actually knew a little early today, so I put something up on the community tab, and then once you put the link up, I shared it again. But that's that's cool, man. That's I always promote your show like any chance I get. I mean, you know this, like by now you know this, but like it's so great. It's so fresh and original. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Prepping 101 says retreat. So hopefully some of them hang out and their numbers stay a little higher than normal. That would be awesome. And everybody's welcome. And thank you so much again, guys. All right. So where were we? I didn't mean to interrupt, but I had to acknowledge that. That was so cool.
All right.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, but what I was saying was we by doing this, even if like we're doing that thing that's like flute and drum music, Native American music, and we're trying to bring out orbs. Now listen, like for those of you who follow me, you know, I don't step out at night, not by myself, not on purpose. You know, I got too much issues. I've had too much shit happen to me that I'll be dead ass honest. I'm scared shitless. So I don't go out there messing around at night anymore. So I did my orb, experiment in the daytime, but, which isn't really, what you might want to do, but that's how I did it. So I tried to do it as early as I could, but, even if that doesn't happen, other things that happen, you know what I mean? Like, you might learn that triggered something else or whatever, you know what I mean? And, we had some good things happen, and that's just experiment one out of however long we're going to go through with this, and however many we're going to do. So it's
long list.
Yeah. So it's just, it's a lot of fun. And the in-between too, everything we talk about and learn between each other in between is good too. So,
yeah. And what's awesome, like Mike said, you know what I mean? Like perfect example, he doesn't go out at nighttime. Well, we reverse, because I only go out at nighttime. So for the most part, for like 99%, I'm out at dark all the way to the wee hours in the morning in the middle of nowhere in the woods. I prefer to be out at nighttime. So it's like we take different mentalities, what we do, and we bring different. Now, even though he did the orb experiment during the day, there is documentation of people seeing orbs during the day. I mean, and now we're going back. If we look at paranormal sightings, how many times do you hear about that? They took pictures in a cemetery, right, during the day, and you get an orb during the day in a cemetery. So there is still ways that we can do these things different parts of the day, different times of the day, and still get the same results, So
talking about cemeteries, I'd asked somebody this the other day on my last show. Do you feel that there's a difference? Like if you'll have a cemetery, you'll have a burial ground, you'll have a churchyard, some are consecrated, some are not. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a difference in what shows up in those areas? Yeah, depending on if it's consecrated or not?
There is actually. It's funny that you just brought that up, because we've actually done churches that way. So my team has investigated multiple churches, which is really cool to get into these places. And, they invite you in and they're all run down and stuff. And you're just like, man, I'm in a house of God right now doing paranormal work. That's badass. But in the same sense, yes, you get a different vibe. And I don't know if it's so negative as far as, something negative that's been is there or drawn in because it's it's a deconsecrated church. But in the same sense, I believe when you come into cemeteries, and my whole thing about cemeteries has been you're already gone from your body before, so you're not even, you're gone. Like you die, you're done. But in cemeteries, what we find is you got to remember, what do we do when we go to cemeteries? We grieve, right? Those are monuments. We go and we grieve our loved ones. Well,
you're leaving a lot of negative energy behind.
Just energy in general. Think about the amount of energy. So grieving is one of the deepest things that we can do as far on a human level, that releases anger and grieving are the two strongest, energies that we give. When we're happy, think about it. When we're happy and chill and having a good day, we don't really think much about it, right? We're like, oh yeah, I'm in a good mood, but you're not really thinking much about it. But when you're pissed off, you're angry, you're letting all that energy go. Oh, you're animated. So because you're letting that off, that charges the environment even more. So when you go to these cemeteries and things like that, it is charged environment. Everybody's leaving all that energy there. Then people are going in ghost hunting and things like that. That energy that's there, you could be picking up that energy. Not so much the people that are there, but more of that charged energy that's now drawn in other things from the outside. So
now, is granite a stone that retains energy? Do you know?
Limestone.
Limestone? Okay.
Limestone and granite. So those are two big ones.
Well, because headstones are made of granite, so that's why I was, most are.
Yeah. And rocks do in general. I mean, when you talk about rocks and geology and things like that, and that's one thing we actually look in the woods. One of my research areas, it's all granite and limestone, and that's one of my Bigfoot hotspots. So is there a correlation with energy in the woods and where these creatures are and where they lay? Maybe. But we also know that magnetism, natural magnetism that's in the woods and things like that draw animals. I'm a bow hunter, so I know when I'm in the woods, we know this for a fact that animals are drawn to magnetic things or they repel. Look at sharks. They use magnetic suits to repel sharks. Because once again, they give off their own EMF field around a shark. So they give off an electromagnetic field. You repel them by a magnet, right? So if we work into these energy, and that's all energy work, that's all frequency work. So when we're in the woods doing any kind of Bigfoot research or any kind of cryptid research in general, that if we can find these energy spots, and some people say they're ley lines or whatever you want. I don't really call everything a ley line, but there are energy spots in the woods that if we can then hone in on these areas, get the readings and get a number. So I'm a numbers nerd. I'm all about the numbers. You got to have those numbers. So you get the numbers in the area, and then is it a natural EMF? Because the earth gives off a natural EMF, as we know, or is it an electrical EMF that shouldn't even be happening? Then we get these numbers. See what the animals are doing. By monitoring the animals in the environment, you then can monitor any kind of activity from a possible cryptid. That's always been my thing, is learn from the animals. The animals are going to give you the story. And that's because of animal behavior and things like that. But when I put trail cams up in the woods, it's not to catch Sasquatch. Now, if I do, great, okay, that's awesome. But it's to watch what the animals are doing in the woods. What are the fox doing? What are the deer doing? Is there animals here at this time? Is there no animals here at this time? And then put together a timeline, which then gives me a story. If all of a sudden I don't have deer for like 2-3 weeks, and then all of a sudden deer come back magically, well, those 2-3 weeks, something could have been happening.
Sure.
Right. And that's just, I'm not saying a Bigfoot whatsoever. There could be a bear in there. There could be coyotes more in there. There could be maybe a stray mountain lion.
Something's keeping them away.
Exactly. But that's the data that we need to find out. We put those numbers together, then, you can start coming up with ways that then to research it properly, and that's what you want to do, is you want to get out there and research it properly. So then when we have that data to share to the general public, then it makes logical sense. And it's not just we're putting out bullshit. It's that, listen, this is our process. This is our thought process. Now, it may not even be right. We may have a wrong thought process, which I'm okay. I can admit when I'm wrong. I don't care. But in the same sense, at least we're trying to do something.
I was just going to say, it's better to have any thought process than none at all.
Exactly. And when you think about it in a flesh and blood type way, we take flesh and blood type processes. Where Mike, on the other hand, his process would be totally different than what we would do, or what I would do. Because once again, he has a whole different way he investigates, where I follow the animals and I follow the natural things in life. He follows his, gut instincts and his senses and those kind of things that he feels that draw the Bigfoot in. So these are the things this is what's great about this team, though. I mean, let's think about it. You just said about your chat, right? You have a great group of people, and they're all different kinds of people, and they're great people. I just brought a bunch of people, right, in the Bigfoot world. Now, think about this, that believe in absolutely all different things. Let me tell you, back in 2014, I mentioned Paranormal Bigfoot, right, after I did one of my TV shows. And the only reason I mentioned it is they put the alien connection in the TV show, which is not my fault. I didn't produce it. I didn't make it. Yeah. But I got blasted for it. Like, Gary, you believe in alien Bigfoot? I can't believe. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was just part of the show. But think about it. I brought it up in conversation. I lost a lot of contacts and friends because I put paranormal and Bigfoot in the same conversation. Well, what I did was I brought all these people together, and we debate positively. We have positive debate. We grow. Everybody respects each other. And I think in the field of any paranormal field, now we're talking any paranormal field, you got to have that mutual respect, and there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to, because we just have to learn to agree to disagree and move on with life. And that's it. You just leave it there. And that's what's cool about the team that I put together with these people, is that these are all different people from all different backgrounds, from all different lives. And we put them together and we're talking like, a UFO guy with a flesh and blood guy with a ghost and a paranormal Bigfoot guy. And then let me tell you, you put that into the community, they're like, oh, you're crazy. And they'll bash you all day long. But we brought it because exactly. Why?
It's a brilliant idea. It's it makes perfect sense.
It's hard to do. The best part is you're not going to see the same shit. That's why I really like it. The experiments he's coming up with, it's not the same shit. We're not banging sticks on sticks. We're not like, whoa! Like,
hey, it goes back to somebody's got to break the cycle of chasing your tail.
Yeah, like, if it was something like that, if it was something like that again, I'd be like, Gary, like, I can't fuck with you on this one. Like, it's been done. Like, we're doing different shit. Like, so it's like, okay, like, this is forward progressive movement. Like, this is what it is. So whether we're all comfortable with every last thing we do, or like we're comfortable with every conversation, or we agree or we disagree, like, that's cool. Like, because like not one of us have that definitive answer. Like, you know what I mean? Because even what works for me, I can't say like, here, yo, do this. Because it might not pan out the same way. So we're, the way this is panning out is cool. I like it so far, and it's only going to get better.
And think about it, like the Bigfoot phenomenon in general, like you said, once again, you got like, you got two guys that believe in something totally different, but are like best buds. Think about it. It's the power of belief is what we do, right? So for, like he said, he may give me like, yo, G, go out and do this, and I'm gonna go do it. But my belief system, I'm like, this isn't gonna, it's not gonna work for me.
If you don't put faith in it, or if you don't believe in that, it's different results probably.
And we were, on my show tonight, we were talking about this in depth, and Kenny brought up, we were bringing up energy work, right? Think about it, like everybody, within 5 seconds if you like someone or not. I mean, it's that easy. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You meet them, you're like, oh, this person's this way. Oh shit. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, this person's really cool. You know what I mean? And chill. That. So think about it. If we're dealing with a possible being in the woods, then once again, that being may already feel our energy coming into the woods, right? So it may already be like, yo, this person's a good person, or this person's is a there's something really sketchy about this person.
Seven Pearls quick says, Gary HootenHolla, it's understandable that you have a good team, but all differences of researching aside, would you say there's a knowers camaraderie? Camaraderie, excuse me.
Oh, well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, when he says knowers, I'm assuming he's saying that they exist. Is that what he's kind of saying?
Yeah, like
Well, it's she, and
yeah.
you know,
She,
knowers.
sorry.
People have seen and experienced, have, you know.
Yeah. I mean, to answer a question, I mean, I've had two experiences. I know what I saw. I've seen two squatches in front of me. So I guess if you're going by the knowers, there are people that know they exist. I mean, if she had an example, if she had an experience. So I would say all the people that had their encounters, it's so personal to them. You know, even my new encounter, Mike will even tell you this. Like, I just had an encounter, what was it, last month, in the beginning of last month. I still haven't even talked. I haven't really even talked about it yet. Like, I've talked about it with my crew a little bit, but like I tell them, I haven't even processed it mentally yet.
Sure.
Because, you know, it's like, it's one of those things that, yes, I'm a Bigfooter. I'm the first one to tell you, when I started Bigfooting, I did not believe in Bigfoot. I didn't at all. I'm like, this is just another fairy tale and folklore story that we're chasing in the woods. But the reason I started doing it, because once again, we live in New York. And there's so much lore and so much fascination with Bigfoot in New York. We have Whitehall, New York. In Whitehall, that's the mecca of the Northeast with the Bigfoot. It's protected in Whitehall. And Whitehall is only an hour and a half from where I live. So it's like, once again, like, there's so many stories. But if you were to ask me, be like, yo, G, you know, do you think you're going to see a Bigfoot? I would laugh at you. He'd be like, no, because I don't believe it. I don't believe it exists.
So you go into this researching, not believing it exists, but so when was that epiphany, you know, that moment when you were like, oh shit?
When I had my first encounter, like, I will even be honest with you, once again, when you're doing Bigfoot research, right? And it's funny that we even talk about Bigfoot this way, but when we're doing Bigfoot research, who taught us to do Bigfoot research? Other Bigfooters, right? The Bigfoot community.
Absolutely.
It's not some scientist and not some, you know, wildlife person that's like, yo, this is what they do. No, the Bigfoot community taught you how to do Bigfoot research. Tree docs, Bigfoot community. So once again, it's already tainted from the start. Think about it. We're already tainted from the minute we step in the woods. If you watch Finding Bigfoot, you watch all these TV shows, even if you watch the shows that I was a part of on National Geographic and all that, it's tainted because we're all doing the same thing. We're going in the woods, we're hooting, hollering, and calling and doing all this stuff, right? We're banging on trees. We're looking for tree structures. We're doing what we have learned in the Bigfoot world, but we're not looking on it from the outside of the Bigfoot.
Sure, because
because we're tainted that way. So when I came into this and doing this, I was doing what everybody else did, right? I'm out there doing all this stuff. And then, you know, I got asked to be on TV, and then I'm doing all this stuff on TV. And I met Dr. Jeff Meldrum. I met all these big people that, you know, everybody knows, you know, and they're really cool people. They're down to earth, really cool people, but you're still doing what they tell you to do. You know what I mean? Indirectly. So after one of the TV shows aired, I went back to the area that we were doing. I just wanted to decompress. Being a part of a production is a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. And it's mind numbing. A lot of it's standing around and listening to them talk and blah, blah, blah. So I went back, right? So I just wanted to go for a hike in the woods. Well, I had my night vision binocular with me. I'm walking down the trail. And sure enough, I was walking like that. About 60 yards in front of me, I saw something climbing a tree, which looked like it was climbing a tree, right? So I'm like, oh my God, that's a raccoon or a possum or something cool, which I got stoked about because in the Adirondack Park, which is massive, you're talking massive.
It's the nation's largest state park.
Correct. It's privatized, so it can't be a national park, but it's the largest state forest.
State park.
Yep. So, yep. And so once again, no, you're fine, man. So you're talking like a big area. So anyway, so I saw it climb a tree and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like I thought it was a raccoon. And then all of a sudden I saw it blink at me. The minute it blinked at me, shit got real fast. I got into fight or flight mode. My body got all tense. I got all the goosebumps. My stomach knotted up because once again, I'm like, I'm not looking at what I thought I was looking at. And then it slowly turned sideways and walked to the left and slowly walk through the woods. And I watched it walk through the woods slowly. Now, what's so messed up about it that I'm still I still can't come to full terms with it, is it was so quiet. Even though you're talking about it was probably about 7 feet tall creature that would have to weigh a couple 100 pounds. This was the end of November. We have oak leaves, birch leaves, all the leaf litter is crazy, right? And as it walked through the forest and walked away from me, it was super quiet. So that kind of put, that kind of put the fear of God into me a little bit. And watching that thing blink at you, like say the minute it blinked, that's when my body went into that whole shock mode. But that was for me the defining moment to be like, all right, so I know what I saw, but I'm going to talk myself out of it. And I did. I talked myself right back out of it, because I'm like, even though I saw and I know what I saw, I was like, I did not see what I saw. So
it's self-preservation.
Exactly. So if you'll hear me tell the story being like, I saw one, but I didn't see one, because when I say I didn't see one, that's me talking myself back out of what I saw. My second encounter was not like that at all. My second encounter, which I just had last month, and I won't tell the whole thing, but I stared the thing dead in the face. And because I stared the thing dead in the face, that's why I still haven't come to terms with it. Because you're talking from 2013 all the way to now 2021. That's a gap of when I finally saw another one. And I've been out in the woods nonstop. You know what I mean? I'm always out there.
Sure.
So that's a long gap. But this one, because I stared it in the face, and actually it put a whole different spin on it for me, because now it made it more primal and like real. So that's the issue with that. So yeah, I mean, that's when it became real to me. It was back, after the TV show, about 2013-ish. And then I'm like, all right, well, you know what? These people are seeing what they're seeing, and now I have a little bit of an understanding, but not, I'm still learning as I go. So.
Right on. My dogs are going nuts, so I got to keep muting the microphone.
There's a good comment in here from Can Squatch, and he says, can I describe how I use the scientific method? This is cool. It's a great question. I'm still learning as I go with this. So what I do is I come up with the theory based on what we're going to test. Then once again, the easiest way to do it, pull up, if you don't know all the questions of the scientific method and how it's broken up, pull up a graph of what it is, come up with your hypothesis, come up with all your background information. All right, so do your research to get the background information, come up with the experiment and how you're going to test it and all the equipment or whatever you're going to use to test it, and then go and test it. Once you get that test result of what you're doing, you then will come up with a possible hypothesis of what's going on. Does it work? So did what you did work, or it doesn't work? Upon then, in that determination, is what direction you're going to go. So a perfect example would be this. And let's use tree knocks, for example, right? When I tree knock, I don't use sticks. I don't believe Sasquatch use sticks in the woods. I don't. I'm sorry. You go pick up sticks in the woods and start smashing trees, and you tell me what happens. It's all deadfall. You can't get that nice hollow sound, okay? I believe that they use rocks against trees, because we have the stories where they throw rocks at you, right? I've had rocks thrown at me in the woods. So if they use rocks to hit the trees, you get that nice hollow sound. So, or it's a vocal where they're going with their large mandible. Mouths would be so big, they would cluck their tongue. So what sounds like a wood knock to us, it may just be a vocal because they're so large, and they would be able to project that sound.
Sure.
Those are I stay on the rock or the vocal. So anyway, if you're doing
I've heard that they slap trees,
Yeah, it could be a slap too. That's a whole nother thing, which is that's an ape behavior. That's a primate ape. That's what they do. So if once again you're doing the scientific method, I would say, like, my hypothesis is that Bigfoot use rocks to knock on trees. So then I would do the background research on that. And then when I set up my experiment, I would be like, I used this rock that weighed this many pounds, etc. All right, this circumference and diameter. Just get it. Just dot your I's and cross your T's. So just really do it. And then when you do that, be like, and then I knocked on a tree, put one in my hand, knocked on a tree. That's what we did. Okay, so we did it, say, once, twice, whatever. All right, but make sure you document it all. All right, see what the response is, and then you're going to get your answer. And then depending on what test you did, that's when the scientific method gets a little bit iffy, because it branches off. The cool thing about Bigfoot is if you think it's tangible, unlike the ghost stuff. The problem with ghost stuff is it's not tangible. You can't recreate a spirit if manifesting in front of you. Like, it happens when it happens, but you can't recreate that, right? Bigfoot, though, because it could be, in my opinion, if it's a flesh and blood, more tangible creature, you then can get those repeated results. So,
Mr. Lee 3PO is coming to us from England. Do you think Sasquatch has a sense of humor?
It's funny that you said that. I really do think they do have a sense. You hear the stories.
I've heard it.
You hear the stories. One thing that we hear is, samurai chatter. All right. You ever heard of samurai chatter when they're talking and it sounds like they're gibberish and stuff like that? Think about it. Like, I've heard samurai chatter many times, which then would mean that the Bigfoot's near you, because you would have to be able to hear it. I mean, let's be logical. So they could be like sitting there talking amongst each other and making fun of us in their own language, and be like, well, what the hell are these guys even doing? What is she doing? Like, you guys look like you're batshit. You know what I mean? You're doing everything wrong. Absolutely.
It's everything. Like they don't belong here.
Exactly. So, honestly, I do. I mean, if they didn't have a sense of humor, think about it. If they didn't have a sense of humor, then I wouldn't be here to tell you the story, because they could take us out very easily in 1 second. I mean, that we're not the masters of the woods anymore, and they're twice our size. So. You're on mute.
My dogs are going nuts. That's why I'm muted. And fuck.
Oh, you're fine.
No, I totally agree with the scientific method. That's all I was saying. In high school, I kind of aced the sciences for some reason, like chemistry, aced it. But the sciences, doing that scientific method, I completely agree with that. If you're gonna, it's consistency.
That's what it is, exactly. And even if it's not perfect, like, listen, we can try to get it as close to perfect as we can. But let's be honest, okay? I'm not a scientist, okay? Like, yes, I went to school for science. I went to college for science, but that does not make me a doctor. That does not make me a wildlife biologist. I went into the veterinary field. So even though I'm doing the scientific method to gain data, at the end of the day, they're never going to take me seriously when I give someone the data. Just like when we talk DNA. You hear about Bigfoot DNA all the time. I've submitted Bigfoot DNA. I mean, and guess what? It came back unconclusive, contaminated. Okay? Let's be real, though.
Because it came back part human. Correct.
But let's be honest. If you sit there and submit DNA, and I see all these people collecting DNA, which is great. I mean, it's great that people are doing stuff. So that's what I like to see. I like to see people out there at least trying. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we got to be honest. And this is, if the government's covering up Bigfoot, if the government covers up, UFOs, which we now know they are, because they just came out and said, oh, by the way, the Tic Tac UFO was real. Okay, so now you just lied to us. You're saying that we were lying, but now you came out and said that we know more than we know. So if the government is covering up Bigfoot, do you think that if I submitted a DNA sample and then they did the DNA test, that has to go through the process of command? So now they get the test sample. They're not going to just send it like, oh, well, he's going to get that sample right back. No. It's going to go through the chain of command. So they're not going to tell an everyday common person that you just discovered a species that isn't even supposed to exist. They're not going to tell you that.
Sure.
Because once again, I'm an everyday person that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. All I did was submit something. So we got to be honest about that. And same thing with the scientific method. So what I always tell everybody that's interested in doing it is, when you do it, do it to the best of your ability. Like, honestly, like even though that I've done this, like you, we did it back in school when we did sciences, and some people are smarter in sciences than others. I'm great in science. I suck in math. I'm awful in math. You know, I'm good in science math, but when we look at that kind of stuff, just do it the best you can, and do it to the point where you feel comfortable in the responses that you're getting. So when the data you're collecting, because the cool thing about the scientific method, and you can always change it. It's not set in stone. So that experiment may be set in stone, which is great because you have a control variable. But when that's done, you can then change it because you see what works and what doesn't.
Sure. Guys, if you have any questions, please put them in caps, and I'll get them out there.
Yeah, I'll try to answer as many.
I see a lot of statements, not questions.
Yeah, oh, that's the way it always is.
Big difference between theory and fact, but in whose eyes?
Well, I don't like to use fact. I mean, the problem when we do any kind of paranormal work is there is no fact. I mean, the fact of the matter is what we know in the real world, right? So ghosts, for example, we know that energy is electromagnetic fields, right? We understand what electromagnetic fields are. Our theory is that ghosts create electromagnetic fields. And even if it happens, which it does happen, I mean, we use all that gizmo and gadgets, like on Ghost Adventures and all that stuff. We use all the same stuff. But even if it happens, it's still based on experimental theory because I didn't see a ghost do it. You know, How do I know that I didn't do it with thought processes? So the thing about the woods now, we hear tree knocks, we hear these things. All right, so the fact would be, a lot of people, the fact for the longest time was, oh, well, they're hitting trees with sticks, right? That was Bigfoot community fact. But it's really not a fact, it's a theory. Because once again, no one has seen Bigfoot witnessed it. If you don't, this is the big thing in the Bigfoot world. And even myself, I'm super guilty of this for years. And I've kind of changed a little bit. Now I'm starting to come out of that Bigfoot community thing. But once again, it's like, if you don't witness the source, then how can you say it happened? So when I say I got rocks thrown at me, right? Shouldn't there be a rock sitting in front of me if I say a rock got thrown at me? But guess what? There's no rock. I have a brand new theory I just brought up tonight, and we can say it right now. I'm going to share it right now. What if the theory that rocks are being thrown at us, which they do throw rocks, I mean, they do, but I don't think they throw rocks all the time. What if we're actually getting hit with echo, with the sound wave? Okay?
Sonar?
Basically, exactly. So they're doing echolocation. And we already know that sound waves can cause damage. Sound can bend metal. Sound can do those things. So think about it. When you're out at nighttime, right, and you're in the woods, this is kind of the way I've been thinking recently. And see, like how Mike goes out during the day. Well, I'm out at nighttime in the pitch black, walking around, using infrared and, night vision. And I'm getting hit with possible rocks as I perceive in my brain, it's rocks. But think about it. We're in the woods at nighttime. Even an animal or a creature that could see well, it would have to be so accurate to hit me through all the brush, all the trees, all the vegetation. The woods aren't open at all.
No.
So I'm starting to think now that what if we believe in the Bigfoot community infrasound, right? We talk about infrasound and how people, once again, feel like they get hit with infrasound by Bigfoots and they can give out infrasound. It would make logical sense because all the largest mammals give off infrasound. The elephants, the lions,
tigers,
the whales, the tigers. So if Bigfoot would be the largest in its category, then it would make logical sense. So that's why we believe that.
Yeah, but then you also have something as small as a bat that uses echolocation,
Exactly. So think about that. And this is, once again, we're still using known things for this. So I'm not making it paranormal at all. So we think it's paranormal because it's outside our thinking, but I think it's just another sense that they still have that we lost throughout time. That's why I say, like, we have six senses. Bigfoot has like 8, 9, 10 senses, and that's only because of evolution, and it's still in the woods, where we kind of now are lazy. I mean, even though we're all some of us would be we're still lazy. We're technology lazy. We're not in the woods anymore. So
it's a shame. It sucks.
I know it does. And, even like someone like myself, who's an avid hiker, I'm always in the woods. Even if I'm in the woods for a couple of days at a time, I'm still, even though I may feel comfortable, you start feeling the point where you need to come home. You know what I mean? After a while, you watch those survival shows all the time, like Alone and stuff.
Sure.
You start getting homesick. After a while, you get homesick. You get because once again, we're programmed to be in a family unit, to be back home, to be with people. We lost that sense of survival. Or a Bigfoot, once again, that sense of it's always survival.
Their way of life. That's
exactly. So one thing I've been trying to go more is, maybe they're doing echolocation. So they're giving that sound wave out and it hits us. That may feel like we're getting a little bit of a touch. And then we may think it's a rock or a pebble because we say, oh, I got hit with a pebble. No, maybe it's a sound wave. I mean, Think about ghosts. Yeah, it's possible. Think about ghosts. Ghosts can touch you, right? You hear the stories of ghosts touching you on the shoulder.
Oh, I've seen physical manipulation from a ghost.
And that's a perfect example. So if ghosts can physically manipulate it to the point where they touch you, then why couldn't a Bigfoot give out a vocal that would manipulate you? Because once again, it's all sound. It's all frequency. It's all based on manifestation of energy. So it is possible.
Welcome back, Mike.
It's okay.
Hey, Mike, what's going on?
I do want to get to some questions. Seven Pearl says, Gary, what message do you have in lieu of your real life encounters now?
I guess the best thing I could say of my real encounters is that there really is something in the woods. And do I think it would hurt you? I don't know. And a lot of people talk about Bigfoot being docile, won't hurt you, those kind of things. I like to look at it like this. I'm not in a good mood every day. Okay.
Sure.
Not everybody's in a good mood every day. You just never know when you're in the woods, you come across something that's not in a good mood or not happy that day. All right. What I've learned is respect the woods a little bit more. Don't be scared of the woods because there's nothing to be scared of. But like I tell my team, and Mike's heard me say this, I always tell everybody that there's a 1% chance I'm not coming back out of the woods. So when I go into the woods, that may be my last time coming back out. And we hear missing 401 stories and all those kind of things that people go and they don't know why they disappear. And it doesn't matter how experienced you are, you could still not come out of the woods.
Sure.
So what I've learned is respect the woods. Now have a little bit, like we respect the woods as it is. Enjoy the woods, because the woods are a beautiful thing. But just I've learned from both encounters now that there is something that we don't know. Don't think you know everything about the woods, even though you may have a huge education about it, because we don't know everything about the woods. And just always err on the side of safety at all points in time. And that's the main thing.
No, it's great advice.
People go in the woods thinking they know what they're doing and they don't. I never not go in the woods without my gear list. I mean, it doesn't matter what I do. I can go on a half-mile hike in the woods. I always have my gear list with me because you just don't know what may happen in that half mile.
Sure.
So always carry the essentials with you, but just respect the woods. And that's what I've learned. Respect it.
Awesome advice. Cans Quatch wants to know, what type of night vision do you use?
So I used all different types. I use the flare thermal scope. All right. So if we know the thermal cameras that you see on TV that give all the heat signatures, they make hunting scopes. They're very expensive, but if you can get a hold of one, I always say that's one of the best way to go, because once again, you can read temperature in the environment, and especially when you have at nighttime and there's animals around, you can then see if it's an animal. All right. As far as night vision, any kind of good stellar night vision. Now you have to once again pay a little bit for them. The scopes that I use are kind of they're lower mid grade because night vision goes up in the thousands of dollars. But I use night vision binoculars. I use a monoscope for the most part. I love my monoscope. If you can really get handy with using just a night vision binocular and walking through, you can focus on things really well. And the thing I do like about it is my one eye still stays in regular vision. So I like to have like at least something that's regular vision with that, because staring through night vision, you'll be blind once you come out of it. So, and that's the thing is once you take those binoculars down or those gum, you're blind. You have no vision in the woods till your eyes readjust. So if that answers your question, any of the FLIR scopes, and I say I like the night vision binocular myself, but that's just me.
So Larry wants to know is what kind of proof can someone come up with that, people will believe without a body?
Nothing. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, there's enough circumstantial evidence out there to say that there's a creature in the woods walking around leaving huge foot tracks, right? Okay. Now, the problem with everything is all these hair samples, all these blood samples, all this crap. It always comes back something else, right? Now, there has been some DNA that's come back, partly human DNA and things, but once again, it's so hit and miss. So, and I hate to say it, and I was just in the New York Post. So if you read the New York Post, I did an article in the New York Post about this whole hunting Oklahoma Bigfoot thing. They interviewed me, and I was part of that. So, but once again, if we look at the hunting license thing that they were trying to do in Oklahoma, all it was a scam for tourism. The Bigfoot community there's already teams out there hunting Bigfoot. There's already teams. You can watch the documentaries on Amazon Prime. I just watched 2 in the last month that teams are out there hunting Bigfoot. So you can watch it on TV. Okay. So there's already those are the people you need to worry about, not the people getting a license for fun to go in the woods. That's not the people, because those people have motive. So unfortunately, I'm a no-kill proponent. Watch it in the wilderness, watch it in the wild, things like that. But unfortunately, we know science needs a body, and that's the long of it. It's funny. I just did a podcast show on Super Bowl Sunday night, right? And thank God the game was bad because I had to miss the game. So
didn't watch.
Oh, you didn't miss it. It was awful. So unless you like Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, but anyway, so. I did. The guy there was a biologist on the show. He's a wildlife biologist, really smart, intelligent guy, really cool dude. And he goes, "Well, Gary, I have an idea." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You do gifting, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, we gift back and forth and do these kind of things." He goes, "What if you can try to get the Bigfoot to gift you a body?" And I'm like, I just sat there for a minute, like, gift the body. And I'm like, first off, I don't know how I'd even communicate that. First off. But you know what? At the end of the day, I mean, it sounds so extreme, right? It sounds so extreme. I just sat there. But when you stop to think about it, he's right in a way that we need a body no matter what. No matter what, we need a body. So if one gets shot, but this is the issue once again, my friends. If one gets shot, do you think at the end of the day that body's going to get released to the general public?
Nope.
And that's the thing is I think people are naive to think that, yes, I'm going to be the first one to shoot a Bigfoot and I'm going to do this or whatever. At the end of the day, when they want to make stuff disappear, it disappears.
Oh, yeah.
So to answer your question, Larry, you're right. There's going to be no proof. I mean, it's all going to be the power of what you believe. So if you take all the stories, right? You take all the encounters, you take all the footprints that are found, you take the couple videos that people have that look real, okay, and you think are real, like the Marble Mountain video. I think that's my favorite video. Once again, it's a group of religious kids at a camp retreat, and they're out in the woods having a good time, and there's a Bigfoot walking down the mountain, and they think they found a Bigfoot nest. But that's a group of religious people that film this. They have no reason to lie whatsoever. You're talking about religion. So, and they're just everyday people. But I mean, it's going to take a body. It really is.
Has anyone done a database comparison comparing all this contaminated DNA?
Not that I know of, and you know what? I don't think they will. It's really going to take a scientist that is willing to put their name on the line to then give us. Now, people bash Melba Ketchum. Once again, they rip her apart about her DNA study. Brian Skykes, he just passed away in December, I think. So he was out of England. He was doing Bigfoot DNA studies. It's gonna take someone to come out and then think about it. that scientist is going to be ripped apart in the community. So it's going to take a large group of people, and when I say people in the science community, a large group of people to come together to then be able to push this, because it has to go through peer review. And in order to get that done through peer review, it's going to take more than just one person. It's going to take, in my opinion, it's going to take a group.
I gotta go, guys. I gotta go do my dadly duties.
Excuse me.
If I
Mike,
can,
thanks so much. Sorry, you didn't get a lot of talk time, brother.
Oh no, it's that's good. That's why I bring Gary in here. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon, though.
All right, man.
Later,
Thank you.
Deuces.
Have a good night.
Love him.
Yeah, Mike's great. Yeah, we talk a lot. What else?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's sad that it's going to come down. I mean, it is going to come down to a body. I mean, we all know that.
But there's bodies out there. There's a body sitting in someone's freezer. You know it.
Well, there's a guy that has poop in his freezer. You see that? This guy says that he has Sasquatch poop in his freezer, bags of it, and his whole entire freezer is full of poop. And he says that it's Bigfoot poop.
That's a lot of shit.
That's a shitty situation. Don't put any ice cream sandwiches in that freezer.
No shit. No, it's funny because I've we talk about Bigfoot poop. These guys know that somebody had pinned me a location not far from here, and he's a rock hounder, and he found this pile of shit that was huge. Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately it was a bear, but it was huge. And I actually went and found it, took pictures and poked it with a stick. Didn't take any. I mean, what am I going to do with it? Put it in my freezer? Yeah. No.
No, exactly. Yeah,
apparently somebody else is doing that already.
I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, like I've prodded bear poop and shit and looking at berries and
just to see what they're eating. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of wilderness training, and that's part of, when as a hunter, things like that. I mean, that's just kind of what you do. So.
Well, it's just like I discovered that, like when I saw the shit, it was full of manzanita berries. Okay. Yeah. So I looked it up. And you can eat manzanita berries, humans. Yep. So,
yeah, I mean,
now I know that, So,
but no, I've seen a couple comments in here. The government's never going to release. They'll deny. They'll neither deny or say there is one. And you're right. A lot of these
plausible deniability.
That's all it is. A lot of people, come out afterwards, or don't want to be known. So things like that. So. That's kind of where you're at with that, and some people say Bigfoot will never be found. Never is a hard word for me, because think about it. Let's be real. Pandemic right now. So we're all fucked because we're in this pandemic. But I can tell you, I don't know about the world. In New York State, when this pandemic hit, guess what happened? Everybody went to the woods. Cuomo said, go outside, go into the woods. So now we have all these people, more people in the woods than ever before, that have never hiked and never done anything, but now they're all in the woods with us, which now I'm part of the hiking community. And I'm not going to lie. It's like, Jesus Christ, you can't even park now, because now these people that are kind of, I don't want to say taking away something that was ours, because it's everybody's, but you know how you feel like you're different than those people.
Being trespassed upon.
Yeah, and it's wrong.
I get it.
And it's very wrong, and it's really wrong to me to think that way. So I'm the first one to tell everybody I'm wrong to think that way. But I'm no better than anybody else. But we have all these people in the woods now. There should be people, once again, more people in the woods, more people witnessing things, more people seeing things. Same thing with hunters.
And everybody's got a camera.
Everybody's got, you got it on your phone.
Everybody.
And everybody, I call it the Instagram effect. Because everybody's posting on Instagram these cool pictures and on the summits of all these mountains. You're in the woods, you're seeing these sunsets, seeing all these nice winter things.
And that's a thing, though, dude, is people just travel around just to take a picture. They'll go to the Grand Canyon, take one picture, and move on.
Move on. They don't even get to enjoy it because just for that picture.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, it's 100%. I agree. So when you say never, there's too many people in the woods now, and I don't think that's going to change. I really don't. People are trying to disconnect now from society in general and
It's a social distancing. Yeah,
it is. It really is, and I think a lot of people are doing that now. And it's a good thing in that way because they're disconnecting from everyday life because they have to. Like, you have no choice, and all of us are ADD and ADHD. All of us are one way or another. So sitting around at home, you can only do it for so long. So that I think sooner or later they're not going to be able to hide anymore. They're really not, and they're not because people are seeing them all over. They cross roads. They get videotaped. Now, half of these videotapes are garbage, and I hate to say it that way, but that's why I don't go for my sources on YouTube, because YouTube killed Bigfoot for me, because there's just so much garbage out there that, if you don't have facts, then you're just posting ideas, which isn't wrong, but don't say it's fact.
Gee, guys, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? These guys busted my balls the other night. Tuesday night, I did a live show, and I kind of just said, listen, guys, if you're going to talk, if you're going to say something, don't say it as a matter of factly. I said, put in my opinion. Right, guys? You all fuck with me afterwards, because everything else after that was in my opinion, in my opinion, in my opinion.
There it is. I just did it right there.
You still go to the comments, in my opinion. Yeah. But it's just,
it's opinion. That's what it is.
Come at me with a fact, because it's all bullshit.
And that's the thing. And it is a fact for that person. One thing that we learned.
Oh yeah.
It's their personal fact. But then if you're going to dissect it a little bit further. Now, this is the problem with facts, though. It's how you determine what a fact really is. Think about it. We're born into society, right? Think about religious people. You're born, say, Irish, Roman Catholic, whatever. You're raised that way. So that is your fact growing up your whole entire life. So then you're now 18, partying, doing your thing, getting ready to go to college, do your thing or whatever. And now you're like, people are telling you, yo, your shit's bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you grew, we don't believe in this. You're going by this, that, and the other thing. But that's your proven fact. But religion's not even fact. That's not a fact. There's nothing fact about it. But you can't tell people that because they've been raised that way.
It's all based on belief.
It is. And it comes back to that power
and
of belief. Faith. But faith is all it is belief. So it's like, when you start teetering on somebody's belief, that becomes a problem.
Amber Lynn wants to know, do you think that they can speak English?
You know what? You hear those stories. You do hear the stories that they say words. Now, I believe that they have a language. I've heard them talk. I've heard a language. The language to me sounds gibberish in a way. But one thing I do when I go into the woods, I mean, if there's any other researchers in there, maybe you can try this too. And it seems to work for me. When I go into a research area, the first thing I do is say friends. Right now, I don't believe they know what friends means. I don't. But the energy in my voice that's going out, the frequency is very positive. And because I'm giving off a positive vibe in the woods, I do believe that they understand tone of voice. We all understand tone.
What about intent?
Exactly. Your intent would be the same thing.
They would. I was going to ask. So
yeah. No, because my intent to go into the woods is I'm still giving off a positive vibe in a way. Now, if you're in the woods with a gun, right, and hunting, and people are in the woods all the time hunting, and they come across Bigfoots, and you hear that they raise their guns at them, but they can't shoot them. Like just for some reason,
they look too human.
They look too human, and they can't shoot them. And from a hunter standpoint, once again, if I saw even if I wasn't a Bigfooter, and when I was bow hunting and saw something like that come through the woods, from a aspect of ethics alone, I wouldn't be able to shoot something that I couldn't identify. Because that's hunter ethics for a lot of hunters.
Absolutely.
But obviously not everybody has those ethics. But in the same way, so you hear these things. But yeah, your intent to go in, when I say friends, that that vibe I'm giving off, that energy, that tone of voice, I do believe that they do understand that. Which I guess I guess if you want to say talking English, not so much English, but the energy and vibe that we're giving off into the environment.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And I've been saying it along. I know like Christy Sci-Fi is here in chat, and she has her experiences, and she does believe that they know intent. Yeah. So I feel the same way.
Yeah, and we do hear that they do. I mean, I have heard that they say hi. I have heard that. I mean, I've heard that they say people's names. I do believe that they know who you are. I really do. I can tell you my one research area in the Adirondacks, I've been there for about 10 years now. And I really do believe they know who I am when I come into the woods. They're only there during a certain period of time. And I believe that that's their nursing time, because I find small ones, juveniles. And I think it's kind of like a nursing type ground. And then they go away in the winter. They're not there at all the winter. So, but I do believe that because I keep going and I keep doing these things, and that my voice and the tone of voice and where I am in the woods, which is way off trail. But I'm off trail, but I'm close enough to trail because we are Bigfoot's entertainment.
Sure.
They want to watch what we're doing. That's why campers have all these stories. They come in to see what we're doing. So we want to be close enough to human interaction, but far enough off the trail where we're kind of can set up where people aren't going to really know where you are. And that's how then we get this nice interaction.
I'm just
but yeah, I mean, you hear
looking
that
through
they say,
chat.
No, you're fine. Yeah, but you hear that they say words. You hear that they say hi. It would make sense that maybe they can learn. Maybe they can learn language like we know. So,
Chrissy says, yeah, they speak English.
yeah. So, I mean, so one thing I do is glyphs. I'm really into glyphs.
Okay.
I use the Chinese alphabet for my glyphs, and it works out perfectly. It seems they understand what I'm doing. One last summer I put up this glyph that said man. So I put up the glyph for man, which is the shape of a V. So upside down V. So I came back a couple weeks later and checking, nothing's happened, nothing on trail camera whatsoever. Pull down the trail camera, leave once again, come back the next week, and now there's a cross across the V that makes an A now. A means big man. So something had to lay that stick across and then turn that from man to big man. Then we found a 13-inch footprint right next to where the glyph was. Come back the next week. Actually, I had to reverse a little bit. That night before we left, I put the sign for friends on the ground. Okay. So once again, that's something I'm always doing. Friends, as I said, put the glyph up. Come back the next week, the same 13-inch foot track was in the middle of the glyph with another one sideways, like it stopped and it looked down at it. So it was looking at what it was, because you can see the way the feet are positioned. So they do understand these alphabets. Why? I don't really know, other than if we do think they crossed the land bridge, like pretty much everything seemed, that's our thought process of everything. But maybe they haven't. I mean, I don't know. But we go by that theory. Then it would be passed down from generation to generation. We try all these different glyphs.
No, that's an interesting theory, really. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's logical, so I try to do it logically. So,
so do you just look up, different characters for that friend, and okay.
Yep. So I just look up all the nice characters, and we use the Chinese Mandarin alphabet, and because it's ancient, so we use the ancient one, and then we just work on it, and it seems it works for us. And I still don't know why, but it does work. Now I've tried other alphabets with glyphs, and I got no responses whatsoever. So I don't have an answer. All I can do is state facts. If we're going to talk facts, the facts are that there was a V there that meant man, and then the cross came and that got put there, and then there was a 13-inch track next to the glyph that we placed. That's fact. The rest is up for interpretation.
And these glyphs were just on the ground, flat?
No, I put them on.
Or you're standing them up?
Well, what's happening? They're flat. They're laying flat. But I put that one on a gifting rock. There's a big boulder.
Okay.
It's a nice big flat boulder. So it's off the ground. Now the friends one I put on the ground, and I made sure to put that right in the pine needles. The pine needles is nice and thick and cushiony. So if I was going to get any tracks in the pine needles, they would have to really dig down, because anything can walk through the pines and you can't find any tracks unless you really look. But once again, it would be the same creature. stepped right in the middle of the glyph, and because it stopped, it shifted its weight and shifted. And when it shifted, the ridge line of the side of the foot kicked up the pine needles to the side. That's why I did that. I want to get those ridge lines. So, because that's what you're going to find. And it made a perfect ridge line. It was perfectly done. So once again, I don't know why it was interested in those things. It could have just been interested in there was something on the ground, even though it didn't understand the meaning, because we changed the environment. But whatever it was, it worked. It worked for what we were trying to accomplish.
So Christy had, I'm getting an echo from somewhere. I don't know. Christy had noticed that there were glyphs on the ground that matched the chemtrail. I mean, it was identical. Do you think they're just mimicking, or
it could be?
It's copying what they see is what I'm getting at.
I mean, it could be, or maybe there's a meaning to that. Once again, it could be an absolute meaning to that. I brought my daughter. We went on a backpacking canoe adventure. So we packed the canoe and just paddled and went into the backcountry. She was 11 years old at the time, and we set up camp, right? And we're just having a good, father-daughter bonding. She was fishing, catching lots of fish. She was happy. I was happy because it was in the summer. Yeah, it was great. She loves the outdoors. I'm trying to get my kids involved in that kind of stuff. So anyway, long story short, we were by the fire. It was 10 o'clock at night. She got tired. She went into the tent. I put out the fire, did all that maintenance. We go into the tent. Now, one thing I didn't tell her when we got there is she was setting up camp and we're going to eat dinner and stuff like that. I went around camp, the scouting, what was around, right? Well, I end up finding glyphs on the ground. Now, I wasn't in Bigfoot mode, so I'm not in that mode whatsoever. I'm out there to have a good time.
Sure.
That's it. I was not a Bigfoot researcher then. I was just Gary. Okay, I wasn't HootenHolla. So I'm out there, but I noticed this, and I kind of was looking at it, and I'm like, this is really weird. And it looked like once again, it looked like Chinese glyphs. So in my head, I'm like, one of two things: someone's out here doing this, like a person.
Sure.
But what was weird was this glyph, it had the symbol of the glyph. And then it had a bunch of little single sticks next to it, almost like it was counting. Okay. And I'm like, this is weird. Took a picture of it. Didn't think anything of it. So then we went fishing, caught a bunch of fish. She was happy. We go into the tent, right? So she went to bed, put out camp. I go into the tent. No joke. 5 minutes after being in the tent, smash, smash, smash. Something smashing. And I'm talking like, no joke, like I thought I was going to die smashing. Okay. She woke up like, oh my God, Dad, what's that? Now I'm trying to hold my shit together because we're in a tent now. I can't see anything. And I'm now at this point, I know what's happening. There's something huge, right? So she goes, Dad, I think we need to go. And I'm like, all right, so I got out of the tent and I started looking around, right? Didn't see anything. She gets right out of the tent and I'm like, oh my God, you're brave. Like, you're brave. Like, there's something huge out here. And I already knew, I hate to tell, and this is when I popped into HootenHolla. I already knew what was happening because I did find these glyphs. So if there is researchers back there trying to draw these things in, then they would know that there's people there because now there's two people there with a big fire, talking, cooking food. Now, this wasn't a bear. This wasn't anything. This thing was smashing so hard the side of a tree that it put if you had to be there to really witness it. So we packed up everything and we left that night because she was petrified at that point, and I'm not going to ruin trying to get her back in the woods once again later at the time. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, we'll pack up. Now, meanwhile, it's like you say, we're packing at 11 o'clock at night, then now paddle an hour across this lake to the car. So we end up saying it was a bear, and we left it at that, but we knew it wasn't a bear. So we do get these weird experiences because we're talking about glyphs. And here's a point where I found more glyphs on the ground, and I don't know if a Bigfoot did those glyphs and was counting. So there was campers. So there might have been campers at this spot because it's a backcountry camping spot, and there could have been campers there, and they were counting and then laying it across for maybe another Bigfoot to see so they understand what's going on. Or there was a researcher there with a group of people, and they were doing the glyphs just like we do, but then they know that there's a Bigfoot in there. And sure enough, that this is what we encountered. So there is something to glyphs, though.
I mean, what would be the chances of running into another researcher out there doing the same exact thing?
Honestly, with finding Bigfoot and all these shows, think about it. Think about Ghost, right? So when I became a ghost researcher, not many people did this at all.
Sure.
I used to use micro cassettes. Remember mini cassettes?
Sure.
That's what I used to use. Mini cassettes in big cassette tapes. Because that's back in the Sony Walkman when we used to have the big Sonys. Like
Absolutely.
that's the way it was. But people weren't really doing this back then because it wasn't on TV. But the problem, once Ghost Taps came out, Ghost Hunters,
it exploded.
It exploded, right? Bigfoot's the same way, though. Once Finding Bigfoot came out and Monster Quest kind of started people getting, were interested in it. But Finding Bigfoot came out, and then they showed people what to do. They showed people what a tree knock was. They showed people all this stuff that they would have never known. Now we're seeing more and more and more people, just like the Ghost, going out into the woods. Bigfoot is easier to do than ghost hunting, though, because in order to do ghost hunting, you have to go into houses and things like that, which you have to get permission to go into houses.
Sure.
Right? In these historic buildings. Bigfooting, anybody can go into the woods. It's free. So you can just go to your state forest, go into the woods, start tree knocking, start rock clacking, start hooting and doing whatever. So we do see a lot of people doing that. So once again, I keep it to the possible as a researcher could have possibly done that. Because I don't know, once again, remember how we were talking earlier about the source? I didn't see a Bigfoot do that. I didn't see the Bigfoot put the sticks down on the ground and count. So because I didn't see that, I'm going to stay to either the Bigfoots did that, or I will always leave that open for another researcher was there and did that also. But the response was insane. I mean, I've never. Once again, it was, and maybe because I was in dad mode and I had my kid with me, that it's a whole different realm of feeling that you like. It was like
you're in a defense mode.
Defense mode, exactly. So,
yeah.
And we hear those stories. We do hear those stories. So,
there's a shit ton of them out there. I mean, I had mentioned earlier, my thing is paranormal. Mm-hmm. Like that's my life experiences. But my dad's seen a UFO. I have friends that have seen UFOs. I've met people now doing what I'm doing now who've, come to me and tell me about their Bigfoot encounters. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
But I stumbled upon Bigfoot by accident. I mean, yeah, I saw all the other, the shows, the Patterson Gimlin film and all this other stuff. But it wasn't until about 3.5 years ago when I stumbled upon Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yep.
I got hooked. Just listening to these stories, I was like, wait a minute. And then you go back and you go, okay, so how many episodes does he have and how many shows per episode? And it's like, holy shit, there's a lot of people out there telling their stories.
And that shows
that got me hooked.
Yeah, and he tells the story so well. And that's what it is. It's, I mean, the way that they present it, you get hooked, and that's what it is because the storytelling. It's amazing. So,
yeah. So now that's my fascination.
Mm-hmm.
I know the paranormal exists, so it's not like on my radar.
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated with Bigfoot. So.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was a paranormal guy for so long, and but it's the Bigfoot phenomenon. I kind of hang in the cryptids now, and I kind of hang into the Bigfoot phenomenon. I got a brand new thing I just started actually last week. The New York Pugwudgies Society. So Pugwudgies.
Puckwudgies. Yeah.
Puckwudgies. Yeah. So Puckwudgies are little people in the woods.
Sure.
In New York and New England, we have so much lore once again with the Puckwudgie, saying that people have seen little people and little goblin type things or little humans in the woods. I mean, Rip Van Winkle stories. We have that down in the Hudson Valley. I mean, you're from Jersey, so those stories run rampant. Connecticut has a whole hill that supposedly the Puckwudgies live in. You have Freeman State Forest or Freetown. I think it's Freetown State Forest over in the Bridgewater Triangle. in Massachusetts. That's paranormal mecca for in Massachusetts with all weird stuff.
Sure.
So you have all these Pukwudgie stories. I started a society based on it because once again, it's almost like Bigfoot. I didn't believe in Bigfoot, right? So until I saw one, I don't believe in a Pukwudgie whatsoever. I put Pukwudgie as a supernatural thing. Now that's a paranormal thing, a supernatural thing, because I believe that it would be an elemental of the forest, a forest type energy like fairies and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to almost. I even hate to say this, but I'm starting to think that these orbs and stuff that we see in the woods, maybe fays and fairies, maybe our brains get in the way because we want to say it's something else automatically because we want to debunk everything, right? But maybe, just maybe, if we stop for a second, stop our brains and just try to take in what is happening, maybe it really is fey energy of some sort. Maybe it is. But we have to know everything as humans. We have to have an answer.
But not everybody has the same paradigm. Bigfoot,
100.
UFOs, all this shit is it's in my paradigm now. It's part of your paradigm. Everybody in chat, and I keep saying this, but not my neighbor. He has no shit.
No.
So if he's walking in the woods, you automatically see something, and you have to go with what you know.
Exactly.
Bigfoot's not a part of their paradigm. It's a bear.
Exactly. No, 100%. And like Brandy said, Pukwudgies is this very specific thing that we're looking at. Once again, in New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, that's what they're based. That's what they're called. Is Pukwudgies. That's more of a New England thing. As you go throughout the country, though, and you start heading down toward Delaware and things like that, they're called other things. So once again, but there's so much lore in this little people phenomena, and I'm learning about it. So like I say, I'm not know anything in it. I just started researching it because I'm like, you know what? We're always in the woods, and
let's clear this up. Maria, I thought Bigfoot was a Sasquatch.
It is.
You're right.
It is. Bigfoot and Sasquatch are the same thing. It's just different terminology for the same thing. A Yeti, skunk ape, a Yowie, a Bigfoot, a Sasquatch, Yaren. They're all the pretty much. I don't want to say they're all the same. They could be different subspecies within the species, but you're looking at the same type of being.
Sure. What else? I just didn't want her to get confused.
Oh no, it's important though because a lot of people don't really understand that. I actually had that a couple of weeks ago. Someone said they got mad at me because I called it a Bigfoot, like it's a Sasquatch, and I'm like, I mean,
tomato.
Yeah, it depends on who you're talking to.
I said it recently. What's in a name? It's the same thing.
It is. And I agree with Brandy. Brandy just said, I think certain little people help Bigfoot and vice versa. I do think that there's a connection between Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, and all the little people. I do think that, like you just said, the paradigm of, it's in our wheelhouse. But I do believe that there is a connection with all this stuff in some way. They're different subject matters within the subject, but I really think that there's a universal connection there. What that is, I don't know.
Could be dimensional. Could be.
Yeah, I don't even try to think about that because then it's too much. It's just too much. But at the end of the day, it's somebody said Yetis are more temperamental than Bigfoot. Once again, we do hear the stories of the aggressive Bigfoot. We do hear stories of aggressive Yetis. But there are plenty of Sasquatch stories out in the western part of the United States that are violent, that are super violent in nature. So I think the Bigfoot community as a whole has made the Bigfoot very docile. But I can tell you, I got plenty of stories from Ohio. I got plenty of stories from the Rocky Mountains, the Pacific Northwest, where Bigfoot is not docile whatsoever.
Oh yeah, and you hear people say, you guys who have had, shit experiences, and you'll be like, you guys think that this is a docile creature, and you're going to go out in the woods and hug it? You're fucking nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically what they're saying, So
And that's why I always say you gotta always, and I think when you go, safety, I can't air it enough. Even though we understand some of the woods, like I say, like I understand how to do mountaineering. I know ropes, I know all that stuff. But that doesn't mean that I know when I go into the woods, I'm still coming out. Like you always got to err on the side of safety. So if you're going to look for a creature with positive intent still, which is great because that's the way you should do it, just because you're being positive and your intent is your intent, still doesn't mean that thing won't be pissed off.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna.
No, I can
No,
sit there and be like, oh, look at that big bear. Like, oh,
yeah.
the bear is so cool. I saw a bear in the woods. I've seen bears in the woods, and let me tell you, it's scary as fuck. Yeah, and it's scary, right? You don't come across a bear and be like, wow, you're kind of in awe of it.
You back up.
You shit yourself. You do. And
I ran into one with a cub, and I was just like, I'm out.
Yeah, you're out. Like, that's even that's it. You're done with that. So once again, you always got to err on the side of safety, and you can't say it enough.
No, and that's important. It's I go out wherever I go out. I'll take the side by side out a lot and just go wherever. But I have everything I need.
Exactly.
If I break down, I have the jack. I have a tire repair kit. I have I awesome. I'll put starter fluid there just in case I have to reset the bead on a tire. But and then whatever's in my, I always have a knife. I always, there's things that I always go out with, wherever I go.
Yeah, and I'm starting to come up with, we talk about cryptids and we talk about a lot of this lore, and all these stories, like all these folklore stories of fairies, and and then you have like skinwalkers, and then you have like trolls and gnomes and banshees and all this stuff, and I believe that there's a thing I'm starting to believe a little bit. I was talking to another investigator, Dark Hour Paranormal, Quincy. And he believes that we're having an awakening now. And I really believe that too, in a way.
Well, he's not the only one.
I never really thought about it till I talked to him recently about it. That I really believe that a lot of us as humans, in any way, shape, or form, are having some kind of spiritual awakening to these things. So when you kind of stop and think about that, right? Maybe, just maybe, back in the old days when they had all these stories about fairies and leprechauns, because in Ireland, they will tell you the leprechauns are real. They really will. Like, I read a story that they did not build this. They were making this building, right? And they bought the property and stuff, but they would not build it because the story went that the leprechauns lived on that land. And because the leprechauns were said to live on that land, they made it protected. They would not do it.
Oh yeah, you hear stories like that in I don't know, Sweden or somewhere where there's a certain lore where they'll build a highway around the whole area, quickest way straight through, but they won't. This is where a certain fairy or whatever, a gnome, is supposed to live, and they'll go all the way around it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I wonder that, I wonder if there was something to that at one point in time. And I know it sounds so crazy because when I talk about it, I sound so crazy. And I'm like, man, I'm like making myself look like a crazy person. But when you stop to really think about it, maybe it was more that energy that they could feel back in those days, because once again, they weren't tainted like we are to modern day society. So maybe there was something more to that. And like you said, maybe that's why people like yourself, myself, other people that have UFO encounters, Bigfoot encounters, ghost encounters, that now that we're open to this stuff, maybe that's the same type of energy that they witnessed back in the day. And we're just more now, and we're feeling that those energies, that is a sense that we used to have, that used to be a natural sense, that we kind of lost. That now that
I've been saying that all along. We lost something. We forgot.
Oh, yeah, we lost a lot. Yeah, and that's why I say about Bigfoot. I don't put Bigfoot paranormal. I put Bigfoot as Bigfoot has 8, 9, 10 different senses
supernatural
that we don't have. That's it. And supernatural. It has supernatural abilities that we see as supernatural, but honestly,
to them it's natural.
It's normal. It's normal. Like people say, well, Gary, they disappear. Well, you know what? camouflage in the environment, animals disappear all the time. So
Okay. So on that note, Gary, have you come across the shadow beings or glimmer figures?
I have come across shadow. If you're looking shadow beings, like shadow people and things like that, I've filmed shadow people. Shadow beings are very interesting and different thing. They, a lot of people say that they're negative. They feel negative when they see shadow people. If that's what he's talking about, I think that's what he's talking about. And when you come across these things, it kind of puts the fear of God into you. Now, my personal perspective of it, though, is this. It's not so much that they may be evil, whatever. I believe that because you witness something that looks so darker than dark, that all of a sudden our primal instincts kick in. That you're like, oh, what is that? So our body goes through that receptive fight or flight mode, just like I was saying with my Bigfoot encounter, because it's something outside our normal thinking. I'm telling, once I've noticed, like, that when I first started seeing shadow people way back in the day, I did have that feeling like, oh my God, but once again, who makes the rules of shadow people? Paranormal inciting people in the community. They make the rules about it. So you're already tainted to the perception of, well, if I see a shadow person, that's evil. And if I come across one, I'm going to end up bringing it home with me and it's going to become an attachment. But it's not that way, because I see plenty of them. My team has seen plenty of them, and we're all alive and well. So
Sure.
once again, I think it's your intent. That's what I really believe. If your intent is your intent, then you don't have problems with these shadow type entities. But once again, always err on the side of safety, because even though it may not affect me and it may not affect my team members, doesn't mean it's not going to affect you or somebody else, because our thinking mentality and our power of belief, which is the most important thing, the power of belief, may be totally different.
Sure.
It's a good question. I mean, people talk about that. It's like an Ouija board. I use Ouija boards all the time. People are scared of them. I use it as a tool. I've never got possessed because of a Ouija board. I never got
but you treat it with respect.
Correct. Well, and think about it.
If you're going to use a tool, you're going to learn how to use it.
Exactly. So, but think about this. So so intent with shadow people is okay, but not Bigfoot. No, we were saying Iron Dog, I think. No, intent with Bigfoot is the same as shadow people. Whatever your intent is what your intent is. So if I go into the woods in a very positive manner, then once again, positive things you would hope would happen. Now, we can't guarantee on any side what may happen or what may not happen.
What else? There was something else that I'd thought of and it slipped my mind. It was going back to the glyphs, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but when you first found that glyph the first time with the sticks next to it, and you took a picture of it, did you go and research that?
Yeah, I tried to look it up and I couldn't find that one, so I don't know.
Nothing similar to it, or okay.
No, and I did a lot of different like Chinese type alphabets and things like that, and it didn't match up with anything that would look. The weird thing about that glyph was there was a pattern, and then there was like a stick laying across, like right through the middle, and I don't know what that meant whatsoever.
Sure.
But what was interesting more to me was not even that pattern. That wasn't the part that was really interesting to me. The point it was all those single sticks lined up next to it, because you could see a thought process. In order to line things up like that, you have to place them down in a thought process.
Sure.
So that's what I focused on the most, was those singular sticks, because I jumped to a conclusion, obviously, when I looked at it, saying that this counting, and that was my conclusion. It may not be that at all, but it just logically made sense to me from a human, point.
Joe says, Mogs, really like what Gary is saying. Right on. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's just learning from each other. And, say like Squatching Cowboy and Kentucky Woodsman that's in here, and, even World Bigfoot Radio. It's working together in the community. I may be completely wrong. And I'm
Kentucky
okay with that
Woodsman,
because,
ironically enough, is new to the channel. I don't even
oh,
know if he's
cool.
subbed, but he came in. I believe he was part of the raid. I believe he's more of a prepper.
Okay.
And
But
welcome,
those,
dude. I'm glad you're here.
yeah, and those prepper people are, but I'm glad you brought up prepping. We have to be
That's
careful. We have to be careful as Bigfooters, because once again, like, I'm a bushcrafter. I don't do prepping, but I do bushcraft. When
mhm.
I go up into the woods, I'm building structures. I'm building little makeshift camps. All right. I'm not building teepees or anything, but once again, I'm building things in the woods for bushcraft. So some of these things that I do see that people post up, I can see that a prepper or a bushcrafter or somebody that's in the woods, like toying in the woods, I can see them making some of these things. So it's like we really need to scrutinize, because there's a lot of people in the woods. A lot of times people don't think that people are in the woods. But listen, as Bigfooters, we go in the woods, right? And we're just searching whatever. So if we're going into the woods, there's plenty of people going into the woods. So that's something that, once again, we always have to scrutinize.
Yeah, it's funny. When I said I was checking out that shit, I had gone back up there because supposedly there was a fire in the area. I got up there was nothing there. It wasn't that area. But I was talking to this guy, and we ended up hiking into the bushes, into the scrub brush, and go down by this spring. And on the way back, we run into people, and this is, in the middle of nowhere. We run into people that on the same trail, like they couldn't go left, or right. They went on my same trail. We're bushwhacking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny how you can run into people where you don't expect it.
No, you're 100% right. You know what I mean? And I actually posted a thing on our New York Bigfoot Society Facebook page a while ago, where I found a teepee structure in the woods. Like we're talking like 3 miles in the back of the woods. But guess what else I found? Little kid footprints, adult footprints. They end up making this cool teepee, and it looked awesome. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. But you're talking 3 miles in the woods, in the snow, and that's what's nice, because you can follow all the foot tracks in the snow. And there's another good comment in the thing. I was like, because not if he starts looking into Jesus, then things may just show themselves in noticeable ways, and it will not end up being fun. 100%, the power of belief, as we've both been talking about. So when we do paranormal work in general, we have to stay within a belief system of what we're doing. So say I go to your house and you believe in Catholic ways. I have to stay within that Catholic religion, because that's what you believe. Say you're Jewish, I have to stay within that. Hindu, got to stay within those. So what's cool about being a paranormal investigator is we have to understand, to a degree, all the different religions that we're dealing with, Christians and all those kind of things.
Sure.
And we have to try to stay within that methodology. One thing I try not to do, though, is bring religion into the paranormal. Now, it's hard, because when you're dealing with private clients, then they may have a form of religion they believe in. So that's when things get dicey a little bit, okay? But if we're going into historic homes, like we do a lot of historic places, a lot of historic homes, things like that. We actually do 3 houses that we own. We have the keys to the houses and the passcode, so we can go and do our research.
Right
Go
on.
in it's cool. We're very blessed that way. But we don't go in with religious beliefs whatsoever. We all go in with what we believe as a person, but we don't bring religion into anything that we do. We try to keep it very silent. I say, leave your belief pants outside, and you come in butt naked and open and ready to go. So now, what we do bring with us, though, is if you have a religious belief, that is what you protect yourself with. So your power of protection
Absolutely.
is your religious belief, if you have one that way. If you don't have one, whatever belief practice you do is what protects you. So when we do that stuff in haunted locations and things, that's what we kind of do with religion. But I don't bring religion into the paranormal, because it gets really dicey that way. But if we have to use it, say, as far as a home case and what the people are experiencing, if they do believe in those religious aspects, we have to then work around what they believe, because what they believe may be causing the events happening in the house.
Sure.
And it's hard. And so there's not a blanket that goes over all the paranormal. It's all little, little nooks and crannies that you have to kind of sit in. But you have to have an understanding, at least a basic understanding, of forms of religion. But we try not to bring religion into it unless it's a private client case, and that's what they're doing.
Sure. Well, it makes sense. I mean, because then you again, it goes back to sort of tainting it. If you go in with that certain belief, you're not doing it justice.
No, but your belief will always protect you. So that's
no. I mean, but as far as religion, bringing that into it, believe what you want, but leave the dogma out of it.
Yeah, like I'm not going to go in someone that's Catholic, Roman Catholic, and start doing pagan stuff.
Oh,
I'm not going to, but people do. Like a lot of people do. They end up calling us because people are going in doing sage burning and all this other stuff, but there's no belief in what they're doing, so things get worse. And then they're like, well, these people came in and didn't finish, and now they're scared because this A, B, C, D is happening. And I'm like, well, I mean, once again, you guys are dealing in religious things, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed just before we went on, I put you below, but I smudged.
Yeah. Yeah,
I smudged just before we went on.
Yeah, and once again, everybody has their thing. You know what I mean? But like when you do sage, a lot of people don't even know how to use sage properly, and they don't know that sage doesn't remove demonic things in a house, but they think it does. That's not why the Native Americans started doing that stuff.
No,
it cleanses cleansing spaces. But it's not. But a lot of people go in and start saging houses and smudging houses, thinking they're going to remove all these negative nasties, and things get worse. So it's like it's all in that power of religion, though. You know what I mean? So it's like that's why we try to stay out of it a little bit.
But I also believe it's intent too, dude. You can smudge with a cigarette.
Correct. Anything. Well, that brings back the Ouija board thing. Remember how we just talked about that? Think about it. Tell me the difference between a Ouija board and a digital recorder. There's nothing. Your intent is to communicate with ghosts. So the one is you burn calories with a Ouija board, okay, because I'm moving my hands. So I'm burning calories. But I have a digital recorder. And now my cell phone is even worse. So because they just have recorders on them and everybody uses them now. So your power of intent is to use a digital recorder to communicate with spirit to get an EVP. If I'm sitting there with a Ouija board, my power of intent is to communicate with spirit using a board. There's absolutely no difference. Intent is intent. It's communication. So the only difference is one's a divination tool and one's an electronic tool.
Iron Dogger says, I smudge all the time. Wait, are we talking about the same kind of smudge?
That's funny.
Right on. What's up, Duke? Sorry I didn't say hi earlier. Good to see you, man.
And like Kentucky Woodsman say, you go stay away from Ouija boards unless you know how to use them. And that's, once again, it's the power of belief and the power of intent. If your belief is that a Ouija board is bad, then you shouldn't use one.
Exactly.
If your belief is you don't care, listen, Parker Brothers makes a princess board that's bright pink that has Princess Crown, and the crown is the planchette. That's the scariest board I've ever seen. It's bright pink, has jewels all over it. It's all princessy. It's for little girls.
Oh, awesome.
Parker Brothers made $1 million off of Ouija boards. Millions of dollars off of Ouija boards.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean...
I had when I was a kid. Didn't really use it much, but...
No, but you got to look at it for really what it is. Who makes Ouija boards scary? The paranormal people. Because all my skeptic friends, they don't make it scary whatsoever.
Sure. Megan's got a question. Megan always has great questions. Question. Hey, Mogs, if given a chance, would you share a large bong with a full bowl of ganja with a squatch? As a matter of fact, I would. Got a light? Oh. Yeah, I would. Sounds silly, but what the hell?
Hey.
So was the question.
I say it's not a silly question. I mean, think about it. People ask, if you ever saw a Sasquatch, what would you do? I go, I would sit down and have a conversation with it.
You would hope you would have a conversation with it.
That in my mind, that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
You would hope you would do some bong hits with it. Like, at the end of the day.
Well, no, I mean.
But in my mind, like I say, like I would have, if I in the perfect situation, you sit down, and if they can talk English, like the one girl said they could talk English, right? So in a perfect world, which this would never happen, but in a perfect world, they'd be like, tell me about yourself. I mean, that would be great, but it's never going to happen.
Mr. Lee 3PO, I will not answer that. That's all there is. I'm not even going to post it. I monetize. I can't promote certain shit.
What 3 questions would I ask? What is that? What 3 questions would I ask a Sasquatch? Oh my God.
That's a good question.
I don't. That's a good question because I don't even know. I don't know. I guess I don't even know. Maybe like, why are you here? That would be the first one, right?
My first question. What's your name?
What would be yours? What's your name? Daryl? Would it be Daryl? We just learned Sasquatch's name, Daryl, right? Daryl. So we already know that. So
no, that would be probably my first question.
What's your purpose? Maybe like, why are you here? What's your purpose? And I don't know. What's your favorite thing to do? I guess.
Joe says I'd have a beer with him.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. See, but listen, but these are literally like, we're talking about what would we do if we met a Squatch? Like, we would all have different, you know what I mean?
In this ideal, situation.
Yeah, but you got to.
It's pretty cool though. Oh, absolutely. I think about it all the time, dude.
You got to think about it because you know what? If you're serious all the time, you drive yourself crazy. We all know that.
Yeah, that's why.
Like some of the stuff that we.
That's why there's a show like this.
Correct. Well, God, if
we take it serious, but we also have fun doing it.
I mean, maybe that's what we need to do: is put a can of beer out and just leave it out and see what happens.
Kentucky Woodsman wants to know, how are you with using EMF meters, or how are you?
Yeah, we use them. We have all the different Mel meters and all the different, natural tri-field meters and the regular tri-field meters. We use them. We do see correlation with them. We do use them in the Bigfoot field now to find energy areas in the woods to see if there's a correlation between energy in the woods in Bigfoot type areas. That's kind of what we do.
What is your name? What is your quest? What is your favorite color? That would be Duke's.
There you go.
3 questions, and I think that's out of Monty Python.
There you go. That is that. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
And I think there's something about the speed of a swallow in that one too somewhere.
Yeah. Well, the Holy Grail is amazing.
Oh, that's a good one. What question do you think Sasquatch would ask you?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why do you do this? Like,
when does it stop?
Crazy. Yeah. Like, do I come to your house and bother you?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? Like, I mean, honestly, if you think about it, like, we're the ones going to them, even though we say we wait for them to come to us. A lot of times we'll sit by a campfire and just wait for them to come to us, but we're still going to them.
Well, you sit in someone's living room, sooner or later, someone's going to show up.
Yeah, so anything's going to show up. You know what I mean? So, can you see me? That's another. There's a good one. Can you see me? Like, it's like where we're at. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Think about it. It's weird that we go looking for Bigfoot. It's weird, but it's fun.
It's not weird.
In some ways. Yeah, in some ways.
To the masses, it might seem weird, but to the people here and everybody on the fringe, and it's a way of life. I mean,
no, it is a way of life. It's a way of exploring. It's a way of gathering things. But it is like, here we are going up into the woods, and hoping for that one glimpse. But it's I call it the Oprah aha moment. You know what I mean? Like, when you get that one glimpse, and those people that have had those encounters, like, it changes your life. It really does.
Kentucky Woodsman wants to know, have you smelled a musky scent or any other odors when you're searching for Bigfoot?
Me, no, but that doesn't mean I do get the stories. We hear the stories. Once again, the thing with the musky scent, if I'm looking at it from an animal standpoint and a creature, I believe that the reason they smell musky would be one of 2 reasons. Once, it would be a glandular problem, kind of like skunks and kind of like ferrets. They have a glandular scent, and then that gives off. So it could be a glandular thing that they give off. Another thing would be the environment. So where I research in the Adirondacks and stuff, it's not really swampy. I mean, there are swamps, but it's more hardwood forest and pine forest. So I don't get that. I haven't got that smell in the areas when Bigfoots are around. But you hear down south that you get that skunk ape smell, and they stink.
Sure.
And there's a lot more swamps and things like that, and maybe they do have a glandular scent. So
well, we have javelina here, and it looks like a boar. I mean, but they have glands on their back, so they call them skunk pigs.
Yeah. And
but they're not related to pigs.
No. And that's the thing is, so if we're looking at different species of Bigfoot possibly, or just like us, some people sweat than others. So maybe every Bigfoot's going to be biologically different per specimen. So even though it's in the same family, maybe one smells and one doesn't.
Sure.
Maybe that's the way, it could be the genetic code. So we don't know. We wouldn't know. So, but there is a correlation between, the skunk ape and smelling and this smell of, farts basically and things like that people say that these things smell like, and Bigfoot. So it just depends on the family unit.
Right on. Well, listen, dude, we are at a little over 2 hours, and we're going to call it a night. If first, let me throw it out there. If you guys have any more questions you want to ask, now's the time. Please put them in caps. TFE says, I'd want to learn their history.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, yeah. Because they say the Native Americans in New York say their own tribe of people. So,
well, most tribes do say that. They are people. So,
and that's where, like I say, that's why I stay on the flesh and blood side, because we go by the native stuff up here. I've talked to the Algonquin, I've talked to Iroquois.
Question. Do you think Sasquatch is a Bitcoin or a stocks kind of Sasquatch?
Oh, man. I mean, buying the Bitcoin because Elon Musk has bought a bunch of it.
No, cryptocurrency. Come on.
That's it. That's the new thing.
Larry says, no matter what you ask them, how would you reply to the same question? Okay.
True. That's true. I mean,
yeah.
We would have to assume that they're talking our language. So.
Richie Evans, actually, probably not. I don't wear pants on my show.
That's what's great about being only halfway up.
Absolutely. I'm in boxer briefs.
That's it. You gotta be comfortable.
Oh, that was from the first show. It carried over from another show, and when I started my lives, the first show I did, my first live, somebody said, pants on, pants off. I stood up, took my pants off, and did the whole show like that. What else? All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Gloria, I believe Gloria is coming from the Philippines. In your view, what effect would a government disclosure have on religion and the world paradigm? Woohoo.
Well, it would change everything.
That's deep.
It would change everything only if it really is a human hybrid. Now, if Bigfoot is his own species, and that's the question. See, there are always more questions. You would have to try to think that, would the government actually come out and say it's a human hybrid? Or would they just automatically be like, listen, Bigfoot does exist, but it's its own species? So, because once again, you're teetering on religion, you're teetering on a lot of things. But let's think about it. Religion now says it's okay that aliens exist. Like that the Vatican said it's okay. They would accept aliens now. That came out a couple of years ago. So would they accept now a Bigfoot in the human evolutionary train if one was, I think they would evolve with it. I mean, and I think that's what would end up happening. That's what's cool about the church. See, the church is the new popes that we have in the church. They're very modern. I mean, they use Twitter. They use all that stuff now. So it's like they're twisting. They're starting to change their thinking. So because they're changing their thinking, we would never think that in 1,000 years the Pope would say it would be okay to have aliens.
No.
Because now they're saying that flat out. They flat out said that. So with these thoughts and stuff like that, I mean, it would change. I would change a lot for. I think it would change a lot for some people because a lot of people are so in depth in what they want to believe as the evolutionary chain in religion and Jesus and things like that.
Sure.
But in the same sense, would the government even come out and say that and just say, oh well, Bigfoot's its own species alone? I mean, they could easily say that, and that squashes all that.
Weird. Okay, we're gonna end this with Overbuilt's question. Overbuilt always comes with funny shit. Comes up with it. Would Gary date a persistent Sasquatch gal if trapped with cute Bigfoot gal in the deep woods?
Damn, I mean, hey man, I mean, I guess
stay warm.
That's some good stuff right there. I mean, I guess if I could bring her home, I don't know how my family would feel about it, but I mean, is it really cheating? I guess I don't know. Is it? I mean, she doesn't exist. I mean, that's what you could say. I brought her home and she doesn't exist. So I mean,
and of course, Megan goes, "Good question, Overbuilt." That's awesome.
That was awesome. That's a good one.
Well, listen, dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really enjoyed it. And I'm so happy to meet you. My pleasure anytime. My door is always open to anybody, so you're more than welcome to come back anytime you want, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And thanks, thank you, chat, and thank you, Footer Nation. You guys are awesome. You know what I mean? And I always leave on this note, just stay positive, have fun. We don't know what any of these things are, but we have theories and we have ideas. Debate very positively, learn from each other. It's okay to agree to disagree, and we can still be friends, still be chill. And that's what it's all about. There's no reason to have no hate, because the more we hate, the further we get away from everything and all these answers that we're even looking for. So
sure.
Let's love one another. I mean, there's too much negativity. So let's rock out, be positive, and, have fun with it.
Right on.
Cool.
Perfect. All right, dude. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. Keep it squatchy. Deuces.
All right. Peace. Right on, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that show tonight. I did. I've wanted to speak with Gary for a while, and I'm glad Mike could join us. So I'll see you guys this Tuesday. It's already Thursday, right? Yeah. Damn. 4 days off. Woohoo. But I'll see you guys in chat as usual. Again, thank you again to everybody that did. If anybody's still hanging out from the raid earlier, like Kentucky Woodsman, thank you. That was awesome. That was really cool. I'm still flattered by that. Yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like, subscribe, leave comments. I like responding to comments. I got to get back to some comments from the last show. That's funny, dude. Lee. That's funny. All right, guys. Well, I will see you next week. Have an amazing weekend. The rest of your week. There's only 1 day left, so that's awesome. So, yeah, guys. See you Tuesday. Again, I'll see you in chats. Peace and God bless, guys. Thanks for everything.